The distinction is critical because wealth is a far superior indicator of economic well-being than income. Wealth, which is the difference between what you own and what you owe, or the net value of your personal property, captures the capacity to survive emergencies, including the loss of a job and income. Income cannot help support wealth losses, but wealth losses certainly, but wealth can support income losses. In addition, wealth provides families with a greater opportunity to afford to get quality housing, to provide their young people with quality schooling, to participate more effectively in the political process, to leave bequests for future generations to ensure that they may have a more economically secure future. And so wealth is far more important than income, and the huge wealth disparities that we observe in the United States are an index of the degree of economic vulnerability that is imposed upon the Black American population. Blacks in the United States constitute about 13% of the nation's population, but only possess 2.6% of the nation's wealth. And that translates into an $800,000 gap per household on average between blacks and whites in the United States.
And what do you think about the push for police reform, in some cases the abolishment of police, as a starting point or as a next step in trying to close this gap?
Well, I'm not certain that police reform will close the gap. I'm absolutely convinced that the types of measures that would be required to reduce or eliminate a racial wealth gap that is on the order ultimately of $10 to $12 trillion would be an intervention that's redistributive, and it would require a reparations program in the United States. On the other hand, eliminating the racial wealth gap would not necessarily get rid of anti-black police violence. There's a separate set of policies that would be required, including getting rid of qualified immunity for the police, demilitarizing them. There's absolutely no reason for the police forces in the United States to possess military-grade weaponry. Also, creating a different set of penalties for the police in the United States for malfeasance and criminal behavior. One thing that could be done is to charge police pension funds for any kinds of penalties that are incurred as a consequence of lawsuits that are successfully brought against police who engage in criminal acts. So I'm not sure that there's a strong connection between wealth and police behavior as there is, say, between lower wealth and more disparate health outcomes that are magnified by the current COVID-19 crisis.
So you prefer the wealth measure. I think the income measure that you've highlighted as well is equally appalling for Black Americans and Black American families as well. What can companies do? What can our viewers do? What should my ultimate owner, Comcast, be doing to help address this huge and historic disparity?
I think that all organizations that are concerned about this enormous disparity, which actually originates with the failure to provide the formerly enslaved in the United States with the 40-acre land grants that they were promised at the end of the Civil War, simultaneous or coincident with the actual granting of 160-acre handouts to white Americans in the western part of the country under the terms of the Homestead Acts, that's the foundation for this enormous racial wealth gap. I think that any organizations, any individuals, any families that feel a sense of obligation, moral obligation about these kinds of gaps and disparities, that feel that these are inequities that are intolerable, should get behind the process of supporting congressional approval of a comprehensive reparations program for Black American descendants of U.S. slavery.